Hello and welcome back. I'm Benjamin Williams, and today we're going to be doing another Boson NetSim lab. Today we're in the infrastructure section within Boson, and we're going to be doing some STP spanning tree number 3 is what this lab is called right here within Boson. So the objective for this lab is to verify the virtual LAN VLAN configuration on a lab network built to test switching configuration. Verify the spanning tree configuration on a VLAN. So this is our topology. It says A switch 1 and A switch 2 are access layer switches. So of course those are right here. They give the PCs access to the network. D switch 1 and D switch 2 are distribution layer switches. We see those both right here. And the access and distribution layers are 2 of the 3 layers in the Cisco 3-layer hierarchical network model, which also includes the core layer. So we don't have a core layer, but if we did, it would be down here. So this is our topology. Like I said, we have PC1, PC2. They're on 2 different subnets. You can see PC1 is on the 172.16.1.2, and PC2 is on the 117.16.2.2. So 2 different VLANs, 2 different subnets. So I guess A switch 1 will have its own subnet, A switch 2 will have its own subnet. So I've already read through all of the commands in the descriptions for this lab right here. And if we look at the IP addresses, as we can see, A switch 1 has VLAN 1 and 11, and A switch 2 has VLAN 1 and 12. So like I said, they're in 2 different VLANs, 2 different subnets. So let's go ahead and go to our lab instructions. We're going to keep our topology up here in the top left. We're going to do all of our lab task reading in the top right, and we're going to be doing our configuration down here at the bottom as usual. So let's go ahead and get started on our first lab task. It says on D switch, let me highlight it again. D switch 1 is a newer, more dependable device than D switch 2. For that reason, you want to ensure that it is the root bridge, which is responsible for sending out updates to all other neighbors. Therefore, you should assign D switch 1 the lowest spanning tree priority value. What commands should you issue to accomplish this? And what benefit will this configuration serve on the network? So first, since it is a newer and more dependable switch, it's going to benefit the network because it's going to be more reliable. Probably a stronger, it has a better, just better components from a hardware perspective. It can handle more information, so you definitely want your best switch to be the root bridge. So that's what that would accomplish on this network. And let's go ahead and issue the command on D switch 1 to make it the root bridge. So let's go to D switch 1. Okay, let's go to enable, and let's do a show spanning tree, show spanning dash tree. Okay, and we can see that we have VLAN number 1, number 11, number 12. So we have VLANs 1, 11, and 12 on this switch. And we want to make sure that this switch is the root bridge. But it doesn't specify for what VLAN it wants me to do that on. So the command that we can do is to do conf t to go into global config and to do a spanning tree. And then we're supposed to specify the VLAN right here. So VLAN, I would say 1 through 1, 11, 12 for all of the VLANs. And let's do a priority of 0 because we want to make this the root bridge. On D switch 1, configure the default VLAN to have the lowest spanning tree priority. Oh, okay. Well, I accidentally configured it for all of the VLANs. I should have read this first. It says, so on D switch 1, configure the default VLAN to have the lowest spanning tree value. So, oops. Let me refresh this lab. Let me just go here, refresh the lab, get a new topology up so we can kind of restart with the new config. I didn't mean to do that. I didn't know it was going to tell me in the next step which VLAN it wanted me to choose. Let me refresh this one more time because it's giving me some issues with pulling up the CLI. So now, okay, yep. So CLI is good now. So let's do an over here, let's do an enable. Let's do a conf t, and let's do a spanning tree let's do VLAN 1 priority, and we want to give a priority of 0. All right. So it says issue show spanning tree command on A switch 1. Verify that D switch 1 is the root bridge. It should have the lowest priority. Quickly issue show spanning tree command again on A switch 1. Why does the output from show spanning tree command display ports on A switch 1 transitioning from listen to learn and then to forward a block state immediately after D switch 1 is configured as the root bridge? So it wants me to go to A switch 1 and wants me to do an enable and show spanning tree. So it looks like we got here a little bit too late because all of our interfaces are now in the forwarding or blocking states. But the reason that it would go through these listening and learning states is to prevent loops from occurring. So first it needs to listen and then learn, and then from there the spanning tree makes its decision on whether it's going to block that port or if it's going to forward from that port. So like I said, it just prevents layer 2 loops from occurring within our network. Spanning tree definitely, if we have layer 2 on our network, it definitely needs to be configured in the right way, and you definitely do not want any layer 2 loops going on within your network. It'll just shut down the network completely. So on D switch 1, it says display detailed information about spanning tree configuration. Use the output to answer the following questions. So the letter A is saying, is D switch 1 the root switch? So let me bring up my iPad. We're going to put my iPad right here so we can answer the questions. So it says on D switch 1, display detailed information about spanning tree configuration. Let's do spanning tree. Let's do VLAN 1. And let me do an end. Let me do a show spanning tree. That's what we want to do. Show spanning tree VLAN 1 detail. Okay. So it's saying, is D switch 1, is D switch 1 the root switch? And let's see if it is the root switch. It should tell us right here. So, yep, right here it says we are the root for spanning tree. So, yes, is D switch 1 the root switch? Let's do A, and we're going to say yes, it is. All right, let's go ahead and go to question B. It says, which spanning tree protocol STP is VLAN 1 executing? So, as we can see right here, it's asking which spanning tree is VLAN 1 executing. And we can see that it is executing the IEEE compatible spanning tree protocol. So that's what it is executing right here. It looks like it's going to be per VLAN spanning tree, or PVST. So let's do, it is IEEE compatible spanning tree. Just writing this down on my iPad so I could check my answers at the end to make sure that they are correct. So it says, what information is displayed about the bridge identifier for VLAN 1? So the bridge identifier, as we can see right here, it says it has a priority of 0, a system ID of 1, and then it gives us the MAC address of this device, which is 000C 14613123. So let's go ahead and write that down. We can see our priority is 0. Our system ID is 1. And our MAC address is 000C 1461 and 3123. Alrighty. Let's go ahead and move on to D. Why is there no root port? Well, there's no root port because all ports on this root bridge are automatically going to be forwarding. If you are on the root bridge, all ports are in the forwarding state. And then on all of the other switches, they will have one port that is the root port, but the root bridge does not have a root port. So that's why. So for D, we're going to answer that and say because it is the root bridge. Because it is the root bridge. And all ports are forwarding on the root bridge. It does not have a root port. Okay? So for E, why are there no block ports for VLAN 1? Well, like I said, all ports are in the forwarding state. On the root bridge does not have any ports in the blocking state. So E is going to be the same thing. It's because it is the root bridge. Okay, let's go to F. Okay, F is asking, what is the timer value for sending bridge protocol data units, BPDUs? I always kind of get tongue twisted up on that. But it looks like we are sending hellos every 2 seconds. So we can see right here that we're sending BPDUs every 2 seconds. So we can answer that with F, 2 seconds. Let's move on to G. G is asking, what is the maximum age value for a BPDU? Well, we can see that right beside it. Maximum age is 20. So let's go ahead and write that down. I have my iPad in my hand. And it's asking right here, it's saying, what is the value for the forward delay timer for H? So we can see our forward delay timer is 15 seconds. So let's go ahead and put that down, 15 seconds. Perfect. All right, so we have all of our answers for question number 4. So let's move on to question number 5. It looks like this is the last one. It says, on D switch 2, display detailed information about spanning tree configuration. Use the output to answer the following questions. So let's go to D switch 2. All right, let's do an enable and let's do a show spanning tree. Oh, we should have put show spanning tree VLAN 1 detail. Okay, that's what we want to see, all of the details, all of the good stuff. So the first question is asking, is D switch 2 the root switch? So we do not see D switch 2 as the root switch because we do not see anything saying that it is the root bridge within the configuration up here at the top. Now, if we go back to D switch 1, we are able to see that it clearly says we are the root for spanning tree. We do not see that over here for D switch 2. So no, it is not the root switch for A. So let's go to question 5. We're writing that down, and A is no. Okay. It says, what is the bridge priority for this bridge? So the bridge priority, it looks like, okay, that's the root bridge. So what is the bridge priority? It should be somewhere. Okay, we can see right here. The bridge priority is 32,768. So let's go ahead and write that down. It is 32,768. Let's move on to C. It says, what is the root bridge priority? The root bridge priority is 0, as we can see right here. So it has a priority of 0 for C. What is the root port on D switch 2? But it looks like our root port is fast Ethernet 011, and it has a root path cost of 19. So this is our root port. So for question D, the root port is fast Ethernet 011 with a root path cost of 19. Let's move on to E. It says, what is the cost for using the root port? The cost for using the root port is 19. So that's E, 19. Let's go to F. It says, where are the configured values for hello, time, maximum age, and forward delay? Well, we can see all of that information right here. It says the hello is 2 seconds. So we're going to put 2 seconds. The max age is 20 seconds. 20 seconds. And the forward delay is 15 seconds. And let's go ahead and move on to G, which is last but not least. It says, are these the timers that are in effect? Why or why not? And these timers are not in effect because this is not the root bridge. It gets its timers from the root bridge, and everything goes based off of the root bridge. So these are not the timers that it uses. So I'm going to say no, because it is not the root bridge. Okay, so let's check our answers. I have all of my answers right here on the iPad. So let's go down and see if we got all of our questions correct. So starting out on number 4, right here, number 4, it says, D switch 1 is the root bridge. So we said yes. So yes, it is the root bridge. So we got A correct on number 4. It says VLAN 1 is executing the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers Spanning Tree Protocol, STP. So it's running STP right here. So we wrote that down. It's executing the IEEE compatible spanning tree. For C, we said that D switch 1 has a bridge priority of 0. So we got that right. It has a system ID of 1, and it had the MAC address of this MAC address right here, which we wrote down. So that's perfect. For D, we said that no, it doesn't have any root ports because it is the root bridge. So as you can see right here, it's saying as its output, we are the root bridge. It says right here, a root port is always in the forwarding state. The root port on a switch is the port that receives the best STP. Well, it says there is no root port on D switch 1 because D switch 1 is the root bridge. That's what we wanted to say. Let's go ahead and go to E. E, there are no block ports on VLAN 1 because all of the root ports on the root bridge are designated ports or in the forwarding state. So yes, for E, we don't have any block ports because we are the root bridge. So let's go ahead and move on to F. F says it's sending BPDUs every 2 seconds. So we got that for F, 2 seconds. The maximum age timer is 20 seconds for G. So we got that one. And the forward delay is 15 seconds. So we got that one as well for H. Let's go ahead and move on to question number 5. It says D switch 2, is a non-root switch on the network. So we said no, it is not a root switch. So we got that one correct. It said the bridge priority is 32,768, which we got. For C, it said the current root port has a priority of 0, which we wrote down. So perfect. For D, it says the fast Ethernet 12, it says the D switch 2 is port number 12. So that's the root port. So we got that right. The root port is the fast Ethernet 011 right there. E is saying the root port cost is 19, which we got 19. It says the hello maximum age and forward delay are 220 and 15, which we got. And it says, are these timers, it says these timers are not in effect. The only timers in effect are those advertised by the root bridge, which we said. So perfect. Let's go ahead and grade. And we got everything correct on this lab. So thank you guys for watching this one. See you in the next one.